I have had people say to me, NLP doesn't work, I don't believe in it. And nowhere have I heard this more than when we get into the world of sales, particularly in the realm of establishing rapport and building rapport. And I think it's because people have been taught wrong. They don't understand the fundamentals of this. NLP essentially was reverse engineered from things that work. So if we talk about rapport, and you've probably heard mirror and match. When the prospect leans back, you lean back. When they lean forward, you lean forward. They cross their arms, you cross their arms. Wrong, wrong, wrong. You don't do it that way. But let me just back up for a second here. I challenge you, if you don't believe that people can be in rapport through body language, I want you to go out to a crowded place where people can sit down and talk to each other. Go to a food court at a mall or a cafe where there's a lot of people sitting around. You don't have to be an NLP master practitioner to realize that when two people are sitting at a table and they're both leaning in and their eyes are locked, there's a rapport there. And the one person might move and the other person moves with them, or a few seconds later. There's a rapport there. If one person is leaning forward and the other person is leaning back with their arms crossed, and one person is all emphatic and the other person is just still, you don't have to be a genius to realize they're probably not in rapport. But here's the problem. When rapport building skills have been taught by using NLP, they have been taught incorrectly. So let me give you just two things that you can work on that I promise you will make a huge difference in your effectiveness in communication, your effectiveness in persuasion, and your effectiveness in selling. But keep in mind, if your product or service doesn't satisfy your prospect's needs, no level of neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, voodoo, or magic is going to make them buy. We cannot make people do something they do not want to do. Period. Regardless of the stuff that you see on YouTube videos and all this mind manipulation stuff. Let's keep the integrity here and keep it real. So technique number one, I want to dissect a little bit this whole idea of mirror and match. Now, you've probably heard this before. When the client is sitting there and they're leaning back in their chair, then you should lean back in their chair. If they shift and they cross their leg, then you shift and you cross your leg. Mirroring the client very simply means if they were looking in a mirror and they crossed their right leg over their left leg, then you would cross your left leg over your right leg, because it would look like a mirror, okay? Whatever they're doing, you're doing. Matching means if they cross their right leg, you cross your right leg. If they uncross their right leg and cross their left leg, you do the same. If they cross their arms, you do the same. If they lean this way, you lean that way. Now, here's the thing. This has been around for so long, and so many people know it, that you run the danger here that if the person that you are using this technique on knows it and they recognize what you're doing, they're going to play with you. Not that I've ever done that with salespeople. They're just going to mess with you a little bit. And they're going to be having so much fun potentially just messing with you to see how far they can get you to do ridiculous behaviors that you've already lost any opportunity for making a sale. So if you want to take a note on this, here's the one word that will change your approach to this, that will improve your effectiveness. Are you ready? Subtle. You have to be subtle. Don't match every movement. Don't match every position. Be subtle. And what do I mean? Look at the general overall posture of the person. If they're a person who's sitting upright and straight, then position your body so you're straight, so you're relatively straight. If they cross their arms, you don't have to cross their arms. If they cross their legs, you don't have to cross your legs. If it comes naturally, then it'll come naturally. But subtly match their spine, their set of their body, their posture. If they like to talk a lot with their head tilted, then subtly let your head go to the side. You'll find that as you build into the conversation, this will happen naturally anyway, just like the people at the cafe or at the food court at the mall. So keep it subtle. And when they move, don't move immediately afterwards. Do it when it feels natural. Like if you're talking and you're both sitting forward, all right? And some part of the conversation happens and the person sits back. It doesn't mean that they've broken rapport. It could just mean their back is tired. It could mean they're sitting back to consider it and think about it. And if they move from here to here and then you suddenly do it right after that, unconsciously, rather than establishing rapport, they might be questioning what's going on with this person because it didn't seem natural. Now, if they sit back and they stay there for a few minutes, then you'll probably very naturally be able to also lean back in your chair and assume the same kind of position. But subtle. By the way, did I mention the one word? Subtle. Okay? So that's mirror and match. Just do it easy. Take the edge off. Go slow. Be natural about the whole thing. It'll make a big difference for you. The second one that very few people realize that is so easy and so important. Match your prospect's breathing. Okay? Now, you got to be really careful here. And gentlemen, I'm talking to you. If you're the salesperson and your prospect is a woman, you do not stare at their shoulders or chest to see when they're breathing. It's going to get you in big, big trouble. Okay? This is common sense here. My guess is that you don't know anyone who speaks while they're inhaling. Is that fair? We all speak while we're breathing out. We speak when we're exhaling. So while your prospect is talking, you should be exhaling. They're talking, they're breathing out, you're breathing out. What this does for you is at the bottom of their talking, at the bottom of their breath, when they're done talking, they have to do something. They have to inhale. You will also be inhaling because you're matching their breathing. Now, this does something really important. One of the top complaints, probably the number one complaint that people have about salespeople, is they talk too much and they do not listen. And I know you know the thing, 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them to those proportions. But this is a primary complaint that people have about salespeople. They don't listen to me. Because here's what happens. The prospect is talking, the salesperson is over here. And the prospect is going blah, 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 blah. And as soon as they're done, blah, 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 yap, 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 the salesperson is right in. Blah, 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 yap, 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 yap. And this person is thinking, they didn't even listen to me. They're so busy waiting to respond that they don't even listen. Now, I challenge you. Think about times when you've been in a conversation with somebody and you're talking, and as soon as you're done talking, they jump right in. What's your emotional response to that? What's your interpretation of that? Do you feel you've been interrupted? Do they feel like you haven't been listened to? Were you maybe not even done talking yet, but you had to take a breath and they jumped right into the conversation? In a word, it's rude. So be different from other salespeople. Match their breathing. They're talking, blah, 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 blah. You're exhaling, blah, 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 blah. They're done talking. You're both breathing in. There's a pause there. Now, if they're not done talking yet, they're going to start talking again. And the great thing is you're actually listening. If they are done talking, now it's your turn and you can start to speak. But that pause gives you a moment to reflect on what they've said. Your brain is working many, many times faster than your mouth can. That pause will give you a moment to digest because you've been really listening to this person and then speaking to them in a way that makes sense. Probing on their questions, answering their objections, whatever it may be. Just match their breathing. This, by the way, is not an easy thing to do because most salespeople love to jump in. We're excited to say the next thing, but it will force you to listen. It'll force you to communicate at a much deeper level, and it'll set you apart from the other salespeople that they've ever met. So, be subtle in your mirroring and matching. Be subtle in matching their body, their posture, and how they move, and match their breathing. This is one that very, very few people know. Now it's yours. Go get them.